That's not the end of Facebook's troubles. The dream run is ending for big tech on other fronts too. Let me tell you something about the news business. Media organizations like ours invest money. We invest money, time and effort to create content, the news you see. Tech companies display this content. So you consume this news on Google, on Facebook, on Twitter and elsewhere. These tech companies get ads on their content. Facebook and Google do. But they don't share this money, this ad money. They do not pay media companies. They do not share ad revenue. They become richer on the content that they did not create. In Australia, they will now have to change their ways. The government of Australia has decided to make Google and Facebook pay for news. This is a world first and long overdue, if I may add. Australia has tabled a law that will force Google and Facebook to negotiate a fair payment with news organizations for using their content. That is content in Facebook's newsfeed and Google's search.
Reform. This is a world first. And the world is watching what happens here in Australia. But our legislation, which will be introduced in the Parliament tomorrow and then go to a committee, a Senate committee, our legislation will help ensure that the rules of the digital world mirror the rules of the physical world. That's been our intention all along, to ensure that the rules of the digital world mirror the rules of the physical world, and ultimately to sustain our media landscape here in Australia.
Why was this law necessary? Let me explain through an example. For every $100 of online advertising, $53 goes to Google. That's more than half the money, the ad revenue. $28 go to Facebook. So what's left for the others? $19 divided among everyone else. Now, this loss of advertising revenue gets partially offset by subscriptions. If you subscribe to a news outlet, they make that money, but that's not enough. Media organizations suffer due to the monopoly of tech giants. Journalists across the world have left the industry. Media outlets have gone broke. Some have shut down. But Google and Facebook have done very well. In Australia, Google made $4.8 billion in advertising revenue last year. $4.8 billion. Facebook made more than $500 million. This is according to documents filed with the Australian Securities and Investment Commission. Now, these platforms make money from news and analysis provided by media organizations. They take that away, Google and Facebook will be much less helpful. Australia's new law is aimed at ensuring that news businesses are fairly remunerated, that they get paid for the content that they generate.
Comprehensive legislation that has gone further than any comparable jurisdiction in the world. And what we've put in place is a final offer arbitration model that is fair and it's balanced in the sense that it takes into account two-way value exchange.
So how did these platforms react to the law? As soon as the news came out, Facebook warned that it might block Australian news content rather than pay for it. Google said the law would result in, quote-unquote, dramatically worse search and YouTube streaming. They say this is justified because they have made investments in the news industry to help them survive during this pandemic. Well, here's the thing. Yes, Google and Facebook give legs to news content. Yes, they take the story beyond geographical limits beyond media organizations' reach. But if the disseminator makes all the money and shares mere peanuts with the producer of the content, how will news production survive? What will they share with you if media outlets cannot create news? Facebook and Google produce zero content of their own. They're merely aggregators. On the other hand, media companies hire journalists, they pay for infrastructure, they invest time, they invest money in news, they create content, while Google and Facebook aggregate all of this content and take up the lion's share of the advertising revenue for themselves. How fair is that? Australia's proposed legislation is a step in the right direction. The government of India perhaps can also take a cue and create a level playing field here. It must break the monopoly of big tech and make them pay for news. Thank you for watching Gravitas on WION's YouTube channel. If you want to stay up to date with what's happening around the world, then subscribe to our channel and don't forget to like and share. Thank you very much for watching WION. World is One.